My friends, I am so excited. We're going to be going to the moon. Our guest here on STEM is Family Fun is coming to us from Columbus in Ohio. She is the author of I Am the Moon. Please welcome to the show, Christina Dixon. Hey, Christina, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am wonderful. I can't wait to talk to you about I Am the Moon for the podcast, but I'm especially excited to find out what kind of STEM is Family Fun activity we're going to do today.
Yes. So today we are actually going to make our own nebula, but in a jar. So when I created my book, I love science, love it. I have a degree in biology, and I just loved working in the lab. So when I wrote the book, I said, I can create a lab, and I really want kids to get into science, to be excited about it. So um, I will show you my lab kit. I just recently created it. It came out January of 2024, so I'm very excited about it. But although it comes in a kit, I'll tell you what other alternatives that are available around the house. And that way you don't necessarily have to buy the kit. That's fine. But you can absolutely take some items from home and still create something really cool from home.
Now,
So
wait, before you go, now you're saying we're going to be able to create a nebula inside a jar, but a nebula, that's what Captain Picard flew into on the Enterprise and start. That's like huge. How are we going to put it in a jar?
well, it's so pretty, but it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm loving it. I every time, because I've done it a few times over now. So my now 7-year-old, and he was actually my inspiration for writing my book. He always wants to make a nebula jar. Like, Mama, can I make a nebula jar? Like, no, we've done it 1,000 times, but they're always fun. What's really cool about the kit that it comes with the UV light. And so we'll get to that. We'll power up the nebula. It's a bit light out here, so I'll send you some pictures. But yeah, it glows and it looks just like your own very own nebula.
Okay, let's get to it.
Okay, so we first start off. We got our 8-ounce jar. We got our stirrers, and then we have some cotton balls. That's going to kind of create that nice cloud thing effect. Now, the alternative to this is if you have a mason jar. It doesn't have to be 8 ounces, just so that you can fill it halfway. So we're going to start off, and we have just some regular acrylic paint. You could get that around the house. So we're going to start off with a half a cup of water. All right, we're going to put that in there like so. And you can kind of eyeball it if you don't have a half cup, measuring cup. Just try to get it as close to the half of the jar as you possibly can, just so I can eyeball it. There you go. And the cool thing about the nebula is nebulas are gorgeous. They are full of color. They're bright. There's so much stuff going on. So, I mean, I choose 2 colors, but you can choose 3 or 4, but it could just be anything, just to kind of mix in the different types of colors. But I'm going to use purple and gold. I'll start off with gold. Now be mindful when you put the paint in here, the more paint you use, the darker the water will be. So we kind of want a little bit of darkness, but not too much. Gonna get that. All right, we're going to use our stirrer here to mix in the paint with the water. Now the reason that we're doing this is, again, we want to start creating that nice effect of the nebula. This is where your nebula begins to form. And so in the kit, I actually have some stardust powder, which does glow. So we'll do that, and I'll put some of that in here once I get a good mixture in here. All right. Can you see it really good?
I can, yeah. Now, you've used the word nebula, and I made a joke about Star Trek. What is the definition of a nebula?
So a nebula is a gaseous. It's the beginning of a star. You got all these particles in this gas cloud, and they start forming, and they get all this friction going, and then boom, you have a creation of the star. So the nebula is literally the gas and the particles that are in this cloud and start mixing around, and then once they mix around with friction and all sorts of attraction, electricity, then there you go. You start now seeing a star being formed. So the really cool thing about that is the amount of the different types of gases that are in the air, which then create that different effect of the colors. So, and what we're gonna do now, all right, so I think that's pretty good with the stir of the paint. And I have here from the kit, this is our Stardust Glow Powder. All right, and if you don't have the Stardust Glow Powder or the kit, you want to use a bit like half of the bag. If you don't have this, another great alternative is glitter. And I understand, okay, glitter with parents can be a bit frustrating because it goes everywhere. But as long as it's in a controlled environment, you can get colorful glitter, one color, you get silver or gold. The really cool thing about this particular experiment is that you can really get creative. So I'm going to put in a half of my bag of glow powder. Okay, that's pretty good. All right, and I want to give it a good mix. We want this to mix around because then this is where our stars are now being formed right here before our eyes. All right, so as we give it a good mix, now the next step that we must do is we're going to create our cloud effect, or, in the nebula, it looks kind of like some clouds of gaseous. So we'll take out 10 cotton balls. Now, if you're using, it's me, lost the cotton ball. If you're using the mason jar, it's about 10 cotton balls, but depending on how big the mason jar you use, just because mason jars come in all different types of sizes. Like I said, this is 8 ounces, but you can get the larger ones, and you just need a little bit more cotton balls. So I would add maybe 5 more cotton balls. If you get like a 16 ounce, then maybe start off with 15 cotton balls. So what I'm doing here, I'm just stretching it out. I want to kind of create that cloud effect. All right, and then the next step that we're going to do is we're going to put the cotton balls inside of the jar. As you can't see it glow just yet, but you will. The purpose for this is you put the cotton balls inside the jar and it'll absorb a little bit of the water. So that's why after this step, we'll add a little bit more water on top of it. We'll layer it, we'll change the color up, and we'll finish it out with the last set of nebula. Sorry. Okay, and I think we are just about right.
This looks like a lot of fun, just to squish up and pull out the cotton balls and mix the paint together and put in the glitter. This is a really fun activity.
Yeah, so now you can start you don't want to like mush it down, just gently guide it down there. Yeah, and literally your nebula is forming right before your eyes. So just putting the 10, and like I said, it's about 10 cotton balls in there. And as you can see, it's already starting to kind of absorb the water, and that's a good thing. We don't want to mush them down, just get it enough where it starts absorbing some of that water in for you. Okay, pretty good. So if you start seeing it already, you're like, oh no,
yeah,
stars, and it's already glittering. And so that's normally, this is my son's favorite time, because then he wants to go crazy with the paint. I'm like, no, sir, don't do that. But you should get excited, and that's the hope of why that's my hope on why I created the Nebula Jar Kit, because I want kids to get excited about science. Science is really, really cool. And I want them to see that there's things around the house that they can create and then say, look, and then represent it as, this is me going into space. And they can then go off and start creating stories and I used to, when I was a kid, my brother and I used to have space teleportation. We used to teleport, we go into the closet, we come out, and we would be somewhere. And this is the cool thing about imagination. And then you put science and adventure in there, and you'll have a great time with this.
Yeah.
So I chose another color. So what I did another half cup of water, put that on top of there. So as you can see, the cotton balls are already kind of forming our nebula. Now we're gonna do another color. Ooh. As long as it doesn't get stuck. Okay, come on. Oh my goodness. And that's pretty good. Okay, so now we wanna we're mixing it in, not like crazy touching everything, but just kind of slightly mixing it in on the top here. You can kind of even get a little bit here where some of the purple is now starting to mix in. And if you notice, again, this is the nebula beginning to form, and where all the colors are starting to mix in, and a stardust power. And at this point, like I said, you can use glitter, and you can have, this is again acrylic paint. So I want it a little bit darker, so I'm adding just a little bit more paint to it. All right, I think that is good and mixed up. What do you think?
I think that is awesome. It looks so cool.
Thank you. So now we're going to add in our last bit of cotton balls. Okay, here we go. And this is a great, if maybe you have a baby brother or baby sister and they want to be a part of the lab experience, you can give them this test. Like, okay, it's your very important time to fluff out the cotton balls, because, they can handle the paint and just paint everything. But this is a great test. And it's very important. We need the cotton balls to create our cloud effect. So baby brother, baby sister will love doing this. And then that way, when it's time to reveal the glow pattern, they'll be so excited because they got to be a part of the science experiment.
Yeah.
And I love science in a sense because it's for everybody. It's for the little babies. I mean, you can go from 2 years old and up creating really cool science experiments, and they'll just kind of cling to it. So I love science, like I said, and I think it helps with nurturing your imagination and your excitement and your adventure. So here we go. So we have our 10 cotton balls. Again, we're just going to place it in there, not really shoving them, just placing them in there. Oh, you know what I did forget? Forgot to put in our nebula, our glow pattern. All right, so we're going to put in the remaining of that. Just kind of stir it up in there. Ooh-wee. That is some good stuff right there. All right. So, again. And now we're all done with our stardust powder. Okay. And again, this could be glitter. And have fun with it. At this point, it could be multicolored glitter. It could be one particular color. That's fine. The whole point is to create something really, really cool. All right. So doing this a little bit more. And the whole point of the cotton balls is just for it to absorb a little bit of the water and really start creating that really cool effect, that nebula effect. All right. Okay, I think at this point we are pretty much ready to go and kind of reveal the glow pattern. Now, on top of the jar here, you can see that the cotton ball has absorbed a lot of the water, which is okay. And if you want just a little bit more of the fluid to move around, then you could top it off just a little bit with some water.
Awesome.
Yeah. So at this point, we have our beautiful mixture of color, and I'll put it closer to you. It looks really gorgeous. The colors have now mixed. You got the nebulas, the stardust powder all through there. And then for alternatives, glitter. The glitters would be showing, and it would just be really cool. Now it's time to close it up. And if you didn't have the stardust powder, then you're all done. and it looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am going to, hopefully it's a little bright in here, but in the kit comes your sunlight or your UV light, right? Now what we are doing, because the nebulas are full of gas and they're bright and they're beautiful, so we need something to power it up. So we are powering up at this point our nebula to see what is our very own glow pattern. And what's really cool about this is that everybody's glow pattern in the kit is going to be different.
Yeah.
And so as we do that, give it some power, powering up the nebula. And there you go.
Oh, wow. That is so very, very cool. That's amazing. And what that can sit in your room, and every night it absorbs the light. When you shut off the lights, it'll start to glow, and everybody's will be unique and one of a kind.
Yes, yes. And the light does come with the kit. So even at night, and you're like, maybe you just want to see something really cool, you can have your nebula jar right there in your bed. Just make sure you keep the lid tight. Power it up, and just every night you'll see something really cool and amazing. And then you start thinking, and my hope is that when you go from this thought of, man, this is so cool, to wondering what happens in space, and it just, your mind can go creativity and imagination and adventure. You're firing up your brain, and you're off to the distant land, and then you can fall asleep and dream about your adventure.
Awesome. Hey, Christina, where can we go to get your book and to get your kit and to find out more about you?
Yes. So I have my website. You can find me at www.christinatheauthordixon.com, and that's where you can purchase the book. I am, as of today, putting the Nebula Jar kits on there as well, so I'm really excited about that. I'm hoping to create some more lab kits with that, and then of course also you can purchase the book.
Awesome. We've had a great time learning how to create our own nebula with our guest, Christina Dixon. Hey, Christina, thanks so much for being part of STEM is Family Fun.
Thank you for having me.